I can't believe you graduated from high school. You're just a dull, nerdy guy who easily gets bullied, aren't you? It's disgusting to have a guy like you in our company, even if it's just a branch office.
I stopped Thomas, who was coming on to a female employee, pretending to just greet her. And as a result, I was subjected to an unbelievable barrage of abuse from him. As everyone around me looks on anxiously, I chuckle. I'm Nolan. I am 30 years old and I work at an office. I work as a salesman at a food manufacturer's branch office in a rural area. I graduated from high school and after I began to work right away, so my last education I received was at high school. I've had people make fun of me because of it, but no one looks down on me in the department I'm in now. I am especially grateful to Harris, the department manager, for all the help he has given me. I have made some good colleagues and was living a fulfilling life.
Yes, I'll be waiting for you. Please be careful on your way.
Harris hung up the phone and sighed. I looked at him to see what's wrong, and Harris smiles awkwardly.
We're getting a visit from the head office at the beginning of next month.
Visits from the head office are a normal thing, aren't they? Harris shook his head with a bitter expression as if he could see right through me.
Thomas is visiting here.
Hearing that, I finally understood why Harris was sighing. We work at the branch office, but from time to time, information and rumors circulate about the head office. Thomas, whom Harris refers to, is the general head office manager, who oversees the 1st and 2nd Division sales departments. And Thomas is frequently mentioned in rumors, but it's always in a bad way. It's unusual to have a different person come to inspect the branch office. I said that, and Harris agreed. I'm sure there was good reason for that, but I am concerned that he also asked for a get-together party. In other words, I guess Thomas wants us to entertain him.
Oh dear.
Harris got up from his seat as he said that. Thomas is well known for his bad reputation, and Harris and I both knew about it. I heard that Thomas was an elite graduate from a famous, prestigious university, but he has a terrible personality and judges people only by their academic backgrounds. He's said to harass employees with power and verbally abuses his subordinates, and he is also rumored to be sexually harassing women even though he is married. I shook my head. It's not uncommon for a person to have some issues with their personality, as it gets even rumored around, but mostly when you actually meet that person, he or she isn't that bad. It's not like we haven't had get-togethers with people who have come to inspect the branch before. That's how I convinced myself about Thomas. My conscience told me that I didn't want to do anything I didn't want to do. I had also been judged by people's own imagination based on my academic background. Anyway, I would continue to work diligently as usual on the day Thomas arrives here. That's what I thought to myself, and started preparing to go out of the office. The months changed, and today was the day Thomas was coming to visit. When I returned from my rounds, Pharrell, my colleague, called me over.
That's him. That's Thomas. He's just like they say he is, isn't he?
I glanced over and saw a man leaning back in a chair. He looks very intimidating with his arms and legs being crossed like that. He repeatedly scolds Harris for his explanation, getting exaggeratedly angry every single time. If you listen carefully, you can see that what he's arguing about is all unreasonable, and I could easily tell that they are not our department or Harris's fault. As I was getting angry, Viola, a female employee, offered Thomas a cup of coffee. Immediately, Thomas's eyes widen and his expression changes. It seems that the rumor that he likes women is true. Thomas ignores Harris and tries to get the name of the female employee who brought him the coffee.
Hey, you. What's your name? How old are you? Sir.
Harris tries to stop him, but Thomas brushes him off. We need to avoid any more tense situation between Thomas and Harris. All right then. As I thought like this, I walked up to Thomas, determined.
Excuse me for interrupting. Viola, what happened to that urgent documents I asked for?
I asked Viola in a deliberately troubled tone. In fact, I had never requested for any documents to Viola. I look at her, and Viola's voice rises as if she knew what I was talking about. I'm sorry, sir. I'll bring it to you right away. The female employee greets and leaves Thomas. Thomas was not amused at what happened at all, and after that he began to glare at me. After we managed to finish our work, a get-together with Thomas was held at a venue Harris had prepared. I guess Thomas yelled at the employees unnecessarily and gave them a lot of work to do, so everyone looks more tired than usual today. Harris gives a toast, and we spend our time together.
Hey, did you hear? Thomas is staying at a luxury hotel.
Farrell whispers in my ear. The area where the branch office is located is in the countryside, but it is a famous tourist spot, and there are several luxurious hotels. I thought the company reserved the hotel since they're the ones paying it. Up until now, everyone who has visited our branch office has stayed in accommodations within their expense allowance.
You idiot, that can't be true. Thomas is doing whatever he wants with his power, you know?
I was afraid to assume anything, but it was possible. At that moment, I casually let my gaze wander and involuntarily said, "Eek!" and I gulped. Thomas was glaring at me from a little distance away.
You're being targeted now, aren't you? It's all because you saved Viola like that.
I sighed at Farrell's words. But I couldn't leave her alone.
You're an honest person, huh? But good job, Nolan.
Farrell laughed and I sipped my beer, trying to hide my embarrassment. That moment, there was a loud bam right next to me. I turned my head in surprise and I looked over to see a male employee sitting nearby, who had apparently fallen while trying to stand up.
Hey, are you alright?
Farrell approached him and helped him to his feet. The male employee's face was bright red. Harris ran over to him.
I'm going to let him get some fresh air.
And the two of them left, dragging the male employee with them. I tried to go with them, but they said,
"Oh, we don't need many more people here."
So I was left with nothing to do. Please stop it. Not 5 minutes after Harris left the room, I hear a woman's voice this time and I look to see what's happening. It was Viola, the woman I had saved earlier in the day. It seems that Thomas is messing with her again, now that Harris is gone. The employees around us look annoyed, but no one is able to help.
I think you're cute. You just have to come over here for a minute.
With a smirk on his face, Thomas pulls Viola to him. He holds her by the shoulders, and this was a huge red flag. Viola is in tears. I didn't want Thomas to glare at me any longer, but I also think that getting glared once or twice is not so different. The next thing I know, I'm on my feet with a glass of booze in my hand and went over to Viola and Thomas.
Thomas, my name is Nolan. Please, have a drink with me.
When I looked at her, Viola nodded her head in sincere relief and stood up from her seat. Thomas followed her back with his eyes reluctantly and then glared at me.
You again, huh? You keep interrupting me.
Thomas, already drunk and being very red, yells at me. No, that's not what I mean at all, you see. Thomas smirked at me as if he had just remembered something.
Harris just told me you only graduated from high school.
I knew that Harris had been sitting next to Thomas ever since the get-together started, but I had no idea that they were talking about me. I guess he didn't like the fact that I had kept him away from Viola from the beginning. As I was being fed up of him, Thomas continued to say this.
How is it possible that you only graduated from high school? You're just a dull, nerdy guy who easily gets bullied, aren't you? It's disgusting to have a guy like you in our company, even if it's just a branch office.
Perhaps it was the alcohol, but he kept on blabbing on and on. I didn't argue with Thomas and just listened to what he had to say. And he'd also say things like,
I would like to see your parents.
or,
You should come back when you are more educated than I am.
I was shocked and dismayed by his verbal abuse. I guess he thought I was shocked and stunned, so Thomas then slapped me on the knee and began to yell at me again.
Hey, how long are you going to keep dazing like that? Your boss's glass is empty. Now bring me a drink. God, this is why I'm tired of dealing with undereducated people like you.
Thomas, who is capable of being a boss to you? Thomas rolled his eyes, as if my question was stupid.
Well, you know, he has to have a higher position or status than me.
I nod and get specific in my question. For example, the CEO of the company, right? What about the CEO's relatives, like the CEO's son or the sibling? Would they be a good boss for you?
Yeah. If they were the CEO's relatives, they would be considered superior to me. Even if they are younger than me, I have to be polite to them. Anyways, stop talking nonsense and get the drinks already.
Before we knew it, people around us had quieted down, and everyone was looking at us anxiously.
Oh, I see,
I said in a satisfied voice. I sat down next to Thomas firmly, and I held an empty glass in my hand and held it out to him. Then, you better go get me a drink.
What?
Thomas was stunned by my response. Everyone who was watching us was horrified, and their faces were drawn in fear. I was so amused by the surroundings that I burst out laughing.
I was only joking.
Thomas's face quickly transformed into a very angry expression.
You're annoying.
I interrupted him as he was about to yell at me. That was a joke, but I just did that because that's what you said to do. I'm the CEO's son, you see.
Excuse me?
Thomas then looks really awkward, and at that moment Harris and the others came back with Viola. I think Viola went to tell Harris and the others because she was worried about me. The man who collapsed earlier was not there, so he might have already gone home first. The three of them fidget awkwardly at the strange atmosphere in the room. An employee who was watching the whole thing told what was happening to them, and all three of them looked just as surprised and puzzled as Thomas. Well, of course that'll happen. I have not revealed my status as a relative of the CEO to Harris, the person to whom I am most indebted, let alone to my close colleagues. Harris rushed over to me.
Sorry, Harris. I'm sorry for making everyone feel uncomfortable.
I apologized to Harris and everyone. Harris looked at me and Thomas alternately, confused and at a loss for words. I turned to Thomas, who was frozen, and said this. You mentioned earlier, didn't you? You said that a superior person is either higher in rank than you or a relative of the CEO. Well, even if I were in a higher position, I would not ask someone to bring me a drink or force myself onto a woman who doesn't want that. As I said it sarcastically, Thomas raised his voice to make an argument.
Don't be ridiculous. A poorly educated piece of trash like you is the son of the CEO? You can't possibly be the heir.
I raised my eyebrows at his really loud voice. I took out my phone and said this as I was using my phone. I'm not necessarily the heir. I do have other siblings too. I mean, the company won't always necessarily be taken over by our family, you know. If you don't believe me that much, then you can check. Dad is probably already at home. As I said that, I put the phone on speaker mode and I pressed the call button. After a few rings, my dad answers the phone. Thomas's face goes pale at once when he hears his voice. Oh, hello, Dad. A long time no talk. I'm here with Thomas, the sales manager. When I say that, Thomas interrupts me from the side. Hello,
are you really the CEO? Yes, I am. Thomas, thanks for your help. How was the sales department at the branch office? Since you insisted on checking it, I allowed you to visit there. But as I said to you, you didn't have to worry about anything for that branch, right? Or is my son being rude to you?"
Thomas looked at me awkwardly. His whole body was shaking and I could see him sweating.
"No way. He was not being rude at all. I didn't even know your son was at the branch office to begin with."
At Thomas's words, Dad said,
"Ah, oh yeah."
and Dad laughed in a carefree way.
"Yes, he was. I forgot that my son wanted to keep it a secret that he was my son. But my son revealed it to you. So that means that something very important must have happened, right?"
To that question, Thomas looked really nervous. I took the opportunity to tell my dad. The first was that Thomas had been yelling unreasonably at my boss Harris and other employees during the visit. Second is Thomas sexually harassing the female employee and pestering her at the get-together party. And the third was the fact that he brought up my educational background when I came in to stop Thomas, and that he verbally abused me.
"Your son is drunk, sir." "I was just messing around a little. I would never—"
"But it's true, sir." I didn't say anything, but a voice came out of nowhere. Thomas looked around at the other employees, but no one was intimidated by Thomas anymore. "I heard it too." "Me too." One after another, the voices rose louder and louder. Then my dad began to say something.
Well, well, I was actually worried when I heard that you wanted to go for a visit to the branches. You know, I did hear a lot of bad rumors about you around the company, and I have warned you before. As long as there is no hard evidence, the opportunity to punish you has not come yet, but I don't know what will happen in the future. That's what I said to you, right?"
Dad continued to talk to Thomas, who was now completely frozen. "Thomas, you made fun of me because high school was my last education, and I was at the bottom of the class. But please, don't get the wrong idea. I chose not to go to college after I thought long and hard about it, and I don't regret what I chose. You know, you can learn a lot even if you don't go to college, so to me, it's not a negative choice at all." When I said this, I wasn't trying to act tough or anything like that. I was just being honest because that's how I truly felt. Above all, it was my dad, of all people, who encouraged me to make this choice.
"In whatever way you choose your career path, your mom and I will respect your choice no matter what."
Because of those words, I decided on my career path with a positive attitude. After graduating from high school, I took the company exam for my father's company and passed. And now, here I am. It was my choice to work at a branch office in the countryside. I used to live in the city where the company was headquartered, but I wanted to try a different environment, and I would like to gain experience in other branches eventually. I thought about going on to higher education, but more than that, I wanted to repay for my dad's kindness as soon as possible. Harris, who had been quietly watching me, followed my lead.
"Nolan makes his own choices and continues to go on his own path. So does his work ethic. He has the strength to keep going and not give up. I'm afraid you have insulted him while I was gone, so I'd like for you to apologize to Nolan."
I scratched my cheek, feeling somewhat embarrassed. "Anyway, I will testify again to the CEO about your terrible behavior today. I am sure that everyone here will testify as well. And I'm sure that I'll find some more bad things about you if I search about them, so make sure to be mentally prepared for that." "Okay then, Dad. I'll be submitting a summary of everyone's testimony shortly about Thomas."
"Understood."
Dad answered that, and the call ended. I don't know what he was thinking, but Thomas began to run away. I guess it must have been really tough for him to be there. At the same time as Thomas let out a sad scream, a tremendous noise rang out. When everyone peeked out of the room, Thomas had fallen over, and he was tangled up because he was really drunk too. My father later told me that Thomas had been fired from the company. I was told that the evidence I submitted to the company was followed by evidence from the head office and other branch offices of Thomas's power harassment and sexual harassment. Some of them declared that they would sue him. The luxury hotel where Thomas was supposed to stay was in fact actually also a hotel that he had booked with the intention of meeting up with his lover later on. So, Thomas visited our branch office and called it as an inspection tour, but actually, the rest was just for fun. What a scumbag. Thomas is now divorced, but he deserves it.
I'm sure he's an elite graduate of a famous, prestigious university, but wow, what a waste. I wonder if I will end up like Thomas if I had taken the career path like him.
I said as I sat down at my computer.
Nah, you'll be fine. You actually know what you want. Yeah, that's right.
Harris and Farrell laughed as they said that. Even though they know I am the son of the CEO, they still treat me the same way they always have. Neither ability nor humanity can be measured by that person's academic background alone. I will continue to work hard so that people who would know who I am would think that way. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. We look forward to seeing you again. Please subscribe to our channel